Hey guys, um, good day wherever you are in the world listening to me. It's a great time again to have another fantastic moment together with you all, right? And today I would love to. Mostly, I actually teach with myself as a reference, right? That is how I am able to inspire people because I teach with my own business models, things that are working for me, right? So maybe these things could actually also work for you or maybe your neighbor, right? So I don't teach things that I'm not used to. I don't teach things that I'm not familiar with. So mostly, I try to guide people based on my personal experience and the things that I personally do, and that is how I teach every day wherever I go. When I'm invited to speak in conferences, in my podcast, and my podcast is basically about my life experience, right? Um, uh, I teach people about my podcast, Diary of a Bulgar Billionaire. Is actually about my life experience, the things I've learned, my investment tips, right? So basically, I teach with myself as a reference point because, yeah, this is how life is supposed to be. We're supposed to be an example to society. Your life should be a model, your life should be a reference point, your life should be a good example that others look up to you. Because when I was growing up, I've seen people teach what they don't do. I've read books about people who are writing about money and they don't have money, like how to get rich and the person is broke, how to manage your finances and they don't even have a dime, right? So looking at that, I realized that you can actually you can be a best teacher when you teach what you were doing. So mostly, if you see most successful people have more or less become motivational speakers. That's why you see people like Denzel Washington, Steve Jobs, and then the like being invited to speak in graduation ceremonies, not because they're motivational speakers, but what they are going to inspire the students with what their own life achievements, right? So that is the most important aspect of life, and I believe that I will always teach wherever I go from now until the rest of my life. I always use myself as a reference point, right? Because if it works for me, it might work for you too. So I don't teach things I don't know. I don't say things that I'm not used to. And that's how I go about. So today I have a real estate company called Great Affordable Housing. Right, you can get more information if you click on links in my bio. Right, so I own a real estate company, and this company is 2 years, 2.5 years old. Right, and it's been fantastic. It's been an amazing journey, and I really love how far we have come. Right, so this has been fantastic, and I love. When I started, it was really difficult, right? Because I was new in the industry. I just got some money from Bitcoin, and I decided to invest into real estate, right? So I was actually new in the industry, right? I wasn't familiar with some of the things. Some things did not go well, right? I spent so much in raising my first project, right? And I learned my lessons from that, and then I also learned my lessons from the other mistakes I made, right? So today, generally, I'm just going to share with you guys how I run my company. How Grade is. I have a group of companies called Grace Group of Companies, right? I have a group of companies called Grace Group of Companies. So Grace Group of Companies is actually my the main brand, right? And then I also have many companies. I have about 6 companies under Gred's group of companies. So when I say Gred, GRED, Gred simply means Grace Group Real Estate Developers. Or that's the meaning of what Gred. Gred means Grace Group Real Estate Developers. Yeah, so that's the full meaning of Gred, right? Yeah. So if you see GRED, GRED, GRED means Grace Group Estate Developers, right? So that is a short form for what for GRED for yeah for that that's a full form for GRED, Grace Group Real Estate Developers. So I run a brand. I have a group of companies called GRED, right? So that is the company that I the group of companies that I run. So GRED means GRED means Grace Group Real Estate Developers. So the affordable housing is the real estate part of because we also do construction of houses, right? And we take contracts to build roads in Africa, and then also build houses, right? So the housing part, that's why I made it GRED. So GRED is the main real estate developers part, the construction part of my company, and then the housing part. That's why I had to separate it, right, to make it clear. So I have a housing unit and the GRED, right, and I also take contracts to build houses and construct road and bridges. We have a few contracts so far, right, and so I'm just going to show you guys a little bit how I run my businesses and then how I run Grid, right? So what happens is that I'm not personally there in person, right? I don't go there myself more often, right? Maybe if it is a big deal with another company that maybe you would see me there, but mostly I don't attach myself to yeah to my company. Like, so if you wouldn't even know except you go to the website and you see my name there, and you wouldn't know that I'm even part of it. And that's how my father ran his businesses. Yeah, and then I'm trying to model my businesses after my father. You wouldn't know it's his until you go to the website, or maybe somebody tells you that that's his business. So that's how I run my business. So I just want to share those tips with you. These tips may not work for you because I started my business in Africa, right? So it might not work for you too, but it's actually a good idea, right? Because there are different laws that govern real estate operations in different parts of the world, right? And I actually realized that it's also when I got to Canada, I realized that there are also different laws that govern it here, and I'm also working very hard, right, around the clock to try to understand that system, because I want Grid to be an international real estate company. So I worked on the registrations, and I succeeded in getting a few properties, right? So the laws that operate in Africa may not operate in a certain part may not operate in certain parts of the world that you live in. And I just had that experience in Canada, right? And then, but I still had to find my way out because the model I use is actually legitimate, and I'm trying to take advantage of what this blockchain technology and make it decentralized, right? So I'm actually hoping to looking forward to a future where we would invest in real estate with the idea of what decentralization, because I am a strong believer of decentralization. We are the central government guy governing over, overseeing how you are going about your deals and your activities, right? So what I'm going to talk about today might not be familiar with a lot of people, and many people might be familiar with it, but they may know it only as a form of what investing and fundraising, right? But it has actually grown, and I learned this model from a Pakistani friend of mine I met in London. This guy is a taxi driver, but when I met him, in time I went to London, and uh, uh, this guy is very, 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 very. He was very, very fluent in English. And I was surprised because I didn't know he could speak that good in English, right? So it was raining that day, and I had just arrived, and I didn't know where I was going to get a cab, right? And he just came up and he picked me, and then we started talking. He said, "Where am I from?" I said, I didn't want to tell him because I don't trust people that much. So I just told him, "Yeah, I'm just coming for a holiday. I'm coming for a conference actually." And blah blah blah. So he started talking, and I realized that the guy was very smart, right? So he introduced a model of. So he saw, like my mostly I wear my T-shirt, right? I don't wear. I'm not usually in a suit or whatever. No, I wear my brand sets most of the time. I wear T-shirts all the time. I'm not a fan of suits, and I love sneakers, and I love jeans, and I love to wear a T-shirt. So he saw my T-shirt, And he asked me, "Well, what is it? Is that a brand or something?" And I said, "Yeah." So he said, "What do I do?" I said, "I'm into real estate." He said, "Wow, he's also into real estate." I said, "Really?" Yeah. So we started talking. So he spoke about a model, right? I know of that model. I'll mention it as I go further. I know of that model, right? I know how it operates, but I never knew it also worked in real estate, right? So he started talking about how he and his brothers, right? So he said that he's been in London he immigrated from Pakistan to London, I think in 2008, right? And he's been a cab driver for the past over a decade, right? For the past 12 or 15 years or so. Right? So he's been a cab driver. So, but what he does was that he has properties. He told me that he has properties that he has rented out. I said, you are a cab driver. How do you get the money to invest in those properties? And he said that, no, I don't do it alone. That I also have other brothers from Pakistan who have little amount of money and are willing to invest. So what we do is that we put the money together and then we buy a property, right? And then we in turn rent the property out and then we keep getting the rent and we share the rent among ourselves, right? So these guys don't have any legal agreement on paper, but just by verbal agreement, they agree as brothers to buy a property with their own money, and maybe they allow one of them to use his name to register it, and they rent the property to some people else, or maybe it could be an office space, it could be a house, it could be a condo, an apartment, or whatever, right? And they rent this property out to another person, to a third party, right? And they get the rent annually and they distribute the rent among themselves equally. There's no legal document binding this agreement, right? They have no, they have no whatever. Like it's just because they are brothers, they are united, and that's how the business model. And he said he has about 4 or 5 properties or so, and he and his brothers have combined money to do that. So he's driving. So on the in the daytime, and on a normal day, he drives his cabs. He gets some money, and then right, he takes that money, he saves that money, and then the brothers also save their money. Others are working in McDonald's, others are delivery guys, others also drive cabs. So every month they gather the money, and they put a certain amount of money aside towards buying another property. So they try to buy at least one property every year, right? So they have that mutual agreement. And what they do is when they rent the property, they buy the property, they renovate it, they rent it out, and the returns from the rent, right, is theirs. And that is a very, very, very powerful tool that right? I think everybody should look forward to investing, to look forward to maybe giving attention to, right? So I actually bought into that idea, right? And then I started reading about that, if that is possible in real estate, because what I'm talking about is crowdfunding, right? That is crowdfunding, right? So I actually started looking into it. Is that possible in real estate? How is that possible, right? Because I know of crowdfunding to be a model that, right, that used to be what, like in the past, right? Crowdfunding was mostly associated with what equity transactions, right? That's what I grew up to know. From my little knowledge about investment, as at that time, I knew crowdfunding to be what commonly associated with what equity transactions in the situation where companies would use the process to raise capital, right? So what happened was that crowdfunding pools, right? They used crowdfunding to gather money, right? Like to gather money together, so that the small size money uh, could use the funds to invest in the company's future, right? That's what I knew about what crowdfunding, right? So what happened with equity funding was it was only open to what accredited investors, right? And this could include banks, this include pension plans, insurance companies, as well as what other investors, high net worth individuals, right? and what they could give a limit for people to be qualified for what, to be an accredited investor. So they can say, oh, we need up to 500. The minimum amount is what, $500,000, and maybe you can invest up to 500 million or maybe to $50 million, right? So these people, that was what I knew crowdfunding to be. So what was in my little knowledge, I knew. Let me explain this again. I knew crowdfunding to be what, associated with what, equity transactions, right? Where a company would use that model what, to raise money, right? Let's say to raise capital. Let me use the right word since I'm talking about equities here, right? So this money will be used what, to fund the company's future, maybe for buying equipment or for manufacturing, or maybe for expanding production, right? This was what crowdfunding was used for. So mostly, it was this equity crowdfunding were usually open, or it still happens now. Okay, so let's say I usually open to what they term as what, accredited investors. And these accredited investors could be pension plans, could be insurance companies, could be high net worth individuals, could be banks, right, and then maybe institutional investors mostly, right. And they always give a limit to how much you can invest, and then right. So this is how I knew crowdfunding to be, right, and this is the only way I came to understand crowdfunding. And the crowdfunding is actually very advantageous because the benefits of crowdfunding is that it doesn't, like, you don't need a large amount of money, right? Because what happens, let's say that, okay, a company needs $100 million to fund their production or to expand their production or to buy equipment or to purchase something, right? And they don't have that money. And then one individual will not be willing to give an emerging company, or one individual, one bank alone will not be willing to sacrifice $100 million for a company that is not yet established, right? People will be very skeptical to give such amount of money to a company in its early stage. So what happens with that is that people will take advantage of this opportunity and open it to many investors. So let's say we need $100 million, but what happens is that we will let's say we get 100 individuals, right, to give 1 million each, right, and we can get 100 million. Right. So they can open this let's say we can open it to 10 individuals to give 10 million each, and we can get 100 million. Right. So it makes it easier. So instead of relying on one person to give such a huge amount, or going for a big loan that could put you into most companies will not even get a loan because banks are skeptical to give loan to a company that is not established, right, and doesn't have much funds, and maybe they will not be willing to give such a large amount to a bank. So the benefit of crowdfunding is that it doesn't require a higher amount of money, and it minimizes the risk. Because if you are relying on, let's say, if you're the only person investing into that company, right, the risk is 50-50, or the risk is 90, let's say the risk to reward ratio could be very, very low, right? The risk to reward ratio could be very, very low because the risk to the reward ratio could be very, very low because this is a new company, and the possibility of it succeeding is very low, and the possibility of its failing is also very high because it's in its early days, right? So, but if you open opportunities for crowdfunding, if an individual was supposed to, let's say, invest 100 million, and you open you open a chance for 100 people to invest, each person investing 1 million each. Instead of 100 million, the person can easily give 1 million out, and then he's sitting at home. He doesn't feel the risk. So it minimizes the risk of losing money. So people are willing to at least invest, because it is better to invest 1 million than to invest 100 million, right? So that is what crowdfunding, that's the importance of crowdfunding, right? So it minimizes the risk, and people can invest a little amount of money. So you don't require a higher amount of money, and that way many people will be willing to invest. So you can get as many people as you want who are willing to put a penny inside to fund you to be able to reach your potential, to be able to buy the things you need, to be able to expand your production, and then to be able to increase efficiency and productivity, right? So that is the power of crowdfunding, right? And another benefit is that it doesn't take a large amount of money for investors to get in. Yeah, just as I said, and in some cases the minimum could be $1,000. Let's say we need $100 million, and we say we are opening the investment portfolio or the investment opportunity for 100,000 investors. All they need is $1,000 to invest, so that we can raise 100 million, and many people will be willing to do so. I think there was this platform called. I think I used to I used to invest in this platform. It's a new emerging. No, what's the name of this company? I forget the name. I even what's the name? I'm coming. Snowball. I'm coming. Yeah, Snowball money, something like that. Right. And right. Uh, So, this place called Republic, right? Republic is a place where new companies actually list themselves, like get listed, so that people can fund them, right? So that if you've never heard of Republic, just Google Republic, right? So Republic is their mission is to make private investing more accessible and inclusive, right? They started as a crowd funding platform, and but they have since evolved into an investor marketplace for of all types, right? And they select only the best startups and then private equities, and they often co-invest with market leaders like okay, they are mentioning names, and then so the Republic note is the next step towards what. Okay, so let me just read what they do, right? So Republic is another platform that actually opens you to investing into new emerging startups that are just coming up, right? And then what happens with Republic is that they started as uh, a crowdfunding platform, but they have since evolved to become an investor marketplace for all types of investments, right? And the best startups and private equities are what are often chosen, and then they often co-invest with market leaders, and then Republic Note is the next step towards achieving their mission, because they allow everyone to share in the success of Republic ecosystem as they grow. And I've actually had access to many startups through Republic. I've invested in many of them. I think at least 10, if I can remember, at least 10. Some of them I sold them later on because I got my exit point. I sold them later. I'm still holding some today, like Snowball. I bought Snowball last year. I invested into Snowball last year, and I'm still holding their shares, right? Because it's a very futuristic company in blockchain, and then yeah. So I really love the idea. So any blockchain company that is emerging, I would always love to invest my money into those companies, right? So Republic is an example of a crowdfunding platform, right? So what happened with crowdfunding is that it gives opportunity to, let's say we are going to raise $200 million, and we open the investment platform to 200,000 people. People will feel that it's less risky to invest $1,000 other than invest 200 million at once. Some people can afford it, but they won't just come and give you 200 million because you're just a new startup. Somebody prefer investing 200 million in Amazon, because Amazon is already there, and he knows that he'll be able to make his money back, or even if Amazon goes bankrupt, he will be able to get his money back no matter what happens, other than invest 200 million in a new startup, right? So that's why crowdfunding is very, very important, right? Because it opens the opportunity to many people, and then who are able to share the financial burden with less risk. So because if you're a millionaire and you invest $1,000 and you lose it, you don't feel it much, right? And that's how it is important to use crowdfunding, right? And most companies, if they eventually go public, right, and maybe they issue or maybe they issue stock stocks via IPO, right? IPOs, which we call what initial public openings, they could be what potential gains of the investment, right? Uh, but this also comes with risks, right? Because if investors putting money into companies that are not known, right? That's is very risky because this company could go to zero, right? But the amazing thing is that it, it minimizes the risk of losing so much money because of what the financial burden is shared and it's not borne by only one individual, right? So that is how crowdfunding works, right? So in my business model, let me now go straight to great affordable housing. And I would just love to read a little bit about great affordable housing and then like what we do, right? And then I'll come and then explain more about what crowdfunding, right? Okay, let me just explain more about crowdfunding, right? So now, let me let me explain more about crowdfunding in today's real estate industry, right? So, so real estate crowdfunding is just similar to what equity. It's just similar to what equity crowdfunding, because what the investors can buy into the property and become a shareholder, right? So the investors what do not need to buy the entire property, right? So an investor doesn't need to buy the entire property. What they just invest a little bit amount of money into that property and they become what shareholders, right? And then that's the benefit of what crowdfunding. So instead of the investor can earn a portion of the profits generated from the real estate investment. Let's say that the revenue generated from the building's rental income or the proceeds from the sale of the building will be paid to the investors, and that is about crowdfunding. So instead of you waiting to go and buy a full property or waiting to go and buy a full house or build a full house, maybe you may not have all that money. So what you can do is invest into the building of the house or invest into what purchasing of the house. And when that house is resold or when that house is rented out, the rent is shared among the investors in that property. That's how what crowdfunding works, right? So one of the benefits of what real estate crowdfunding for non-accredited investors is what the low minimal investment amount, right? That are typically required. So in some cases, investors can what become shareholders into real estate with as less as what $2,000, and sometimes as less as what $500, right? And even in great affordable housing, people can invest as less as what $500 and become shareholders in a property, right? So they get portion of. So just like in investment, the higher you invest, the higher the amount you invest, the higher the returns also. But in great affordable housing, you can invest as little as what $500 and become a shareholder in the property, right? It depends on the type of property, but we have as little we have investment as little as what $500. It ranges from as little as $500 to $1 million, right? So you can invest as little as $500 and become a shareholder in a company, right? So instead of waiting to earn that big money or maybe get that big income and go and invest in a property or maybe buy a house or build your own house and rent it out, you can invest as little as $500 in great affordable housing or invest from $500 to $1 million, and then what become a shareholder and you get money from the rent or when the house is resold. We have what we call a holding period. I will explain that further. We have if it is about properties that we buy like land, like houses that we buy and resell, we have what we call a holding period, right? And then it depends on when you need your money. We have different holding periods for each properties. We have a holding period of 1 month, we have a holding period of 1 year, and after what 10 years. So we can hold some properties up to 10 years and resell them, and you get your profit back, right? So that is one of the benefits of what crowdfunding. You can invest as less as what, maybe depends on the part of the world, but in great affordable housing we allow up to what, as little as what, $500. Also, real estate crowdfunding can help investors what, reduce the risk that's associated with what, an portfolio, and that means that real estate crowdfunding helps investors to diversify the risk in their investment portfolios by not having all of their funds in the equity market, right? So instead of having your funds just in Bitcoin or in shares in companies or in equities, you can actually diversify by what, investing in real estate, what, crowdfunding, because you may not need to buy a whole house, but just invest a little bit amount of money. Okay, so let's talk about what the investment limits, what, for crowdfunding, right? So because of the risk involved in this space, right? It depends on the country that you live in, right? Some companies like the U.S., the Securities and Exchange Commission only allows up to an amount less than $107,000, right? People who are earning an income, right? Accredited investors. So if you are earning what, less than $107,000 in a 12-month period, you can only invest up to what, $2,200 or 5% or less of what your total investment in what, crowdfunding. That is, it depends on the country that you live in, but some countries do not have this kind of laws, and then crowdfunding is very. But I think investing that amount a year is actually not bad. So let's say you're investing $2,200 a year for a period of 10 years. That will be very, very profitable, right? Now, and then also, like, if your annual income or net worth is what, more than what, $107,000 in a 12-month period, you can invest up to what, 10% of your annual income or net worth, or whichever is lesser, right? So you can invest more than what, if you earn more than $107,000 a year, you can invest what, more than 10% of your income into what, crowdfunding, right? Right. So this is what actually what the benefits of what crowdfunding. So now somebody would say that, okay, what about what REITs, right? And then, well, what is the difference between REITs and then crowdfunding? Somebody's going to ask me about that, because how do I invest? What's the difference? And what is the benefits? Which one is better than the other, right? So I'm just going to also talk about that before I move to what great great affordable housing, right? So that is good. So I'm going to just dive into that. Give me a minute. I'm just trying to reconnect this. Right. So I'm just trying to reconnect that, and we move on to the so this is about what I just spoke about, crowdfunding and the benefits of crowdfunding. So now I'm going to go to I'm going to talk about what the difference. Somebody will ask me, okay, Matt, you're talking about what uh, uh, REITs and then what, crowdfunding. What is the difference? So what are REITs, right? REITs, right? So right. Yeah, give me a minute. So somebody will ask me, Matt, what is the difference between what REITs? REITs are what, real estate what, investment trust. REITs means real estate investment trust. So someone would ask me, what is the difference between what, investing in what, real estate investment trust, and then what, real estate crowdfunding? What is the difference? Which one is better? right? So I'm going to talk about that. Then I will now dive directly into great affordable housing. So somebody's going to ask me, Matt, okay, uh, so let me just look at what these two, and then we move on, right? So uh, a lot of people have benefited what from having their portfolios in what real estate, but most of the investors, right, do not know like very well about what all forms of real estate investments. So they sometimes get confused about what crowdfunding, right? And most people only talk about crowdfunding because crowdfunding is only related to equities, right? And then most people are not familiar with real estate crowdfunding, so they usually prefer to put their money in real estate investment trusts other than what invest in crowdfunded opportunities that are out there and crowdfunded right platforms that are out there, right? And then so the concept has opened a whole world of what investments where someone else manages the properties, but individuals can invest in them and then reap some of the rewards. Right. So there are a few ways to go about investing in real estate, and the biggest of them is what real estate investment trust, and then I think crowdfunding is what just the newest in the industry. So most people, actually old investors, actually are used to what investing in real estate investment trust. So what happens is that real estate investment trust will buy commercial property and distribute the rental income to shareholders as dividends. This is what happens in what real estate investment trust. What happens is that they will buy a commercial property, or maybe they'll buy many commercial properties, and they will distribute what the rental income to shareholders as what dividends, right? And on the other hand, crowdfunding allows entrepreneurs to raise the capital for the projects from a large group of individuals, right? So investors can purchase the shares of real estate investment trusts through mutual funds or ETFs. But right, but let me break it down again. In real estate investment trusts, what happens is that like what real estate investment trust, they will buy a commercial property or will buy commercial properties, right, and distribute the rental income to the shareholders in a form of dividends, right? Whereas in crowdfunding, crowdfunding allows entrepreneurs, you and I, the common investor, to what? To raise the money, right? So we can raise money from as many as we can. So what happens with crowdfunding is that it minimizes the risk of losing the money you are investing. So let's say that we need $100 million. Let's say that we need, or let's say we need $5 million, right? If we say we are going to get that $5 million from 10 people, right? It will be very risky because nobody will be willing to invest $500,000 in an emerging property. You don't even, right? And Greg is only 2 years old, 2.5 years old. So somebody will not be willing to invest such a large amount of money. And because of what, it depends on the laws and then the investment laws or the real estate laws in your country. Just as I explained previously, in the US, the SEC does not allow people who earn less than $107,000 a year to invest more than 5% of their income in real estate crowd funds, right? Crowdfunding, and then but they have allowed people who earn more than $107,000 a year to invest, right, up to 10% of their. So it depends. Also, because of the laws, most people will not uh, be able to invest into what. So it depends on the laws in your country. Most people will not be able to invest more than their total income. Maybe will not be able to invest maybe the amount you might expect from them. So let's say that you are expecting to raise $500,000 from each individual. But this individual is earning less than $107,000 in a year. That means they cannot be able to participate in this crowdfunding project, right? But because of the opportunity is open to as many individuals as you can. You can break it down instead of depending on 10 people. You can say, let's get it from 100 people, right? With that, somebody can be willing to invest $50,000, or let's say that break it to 100,000 people. With that, somebody can be able to invest $5,000, and this makes it great and amazing, right? So with real estate investment trusts, REITs, what happens is that the real estate investment trust will purchase a property, right? And what happens is that they would give the rentals or the accumulated profit from the resale of these properties or the rent to the profit from these properties to the shareholders in a form of dividends, which is paid monthly, quarterly, or annually. But in crowdfunding, what happens is that the people, entrepreneurs, the opportunity is open to entrepreneurs, people who are new in investing, people who are willing to invest small amount of money, buy. To be able to raise the money to be able to buy the property, So what? With real estate investment trust, the money is actually raised through mutual funds or ETFs, right? So maybe assuming you don't have the money to buy a property, or you don't want to buy a property, you can invest in a crowdfunding company that specializes in real estate, and that is what great affordable housing do, right? So what is a real estate investment trust, right? So what happens is that real estate investment trust allows investors to make investments in real estate without having to actually buy any property, right? Uh, so what happens is that the real estate investment trust will purchase a property or purchase different properties. This could be condominiums, this could be large apartment buildings, this could be hotels, this could be office buildings, it could be storage centers, there could be retail outlets, there could be complexes and other similar properties. And sometimes even leases, right? Or rent. And then what happens is that they lease these properties or they rent them out to tenants, right? So investors buy shares in the real estate investment trust. The rent collected by the real estate investment trust from these leases or rents is then distributed to the investors as a form of dividends. So how does real estate investment trust work, right? So real estate investment tax, like a real estate investment trust, are actually tax breaks, right, for corporations. That's good because that's very beneficial, right? So in order to qualify for a real estate investment trust, it must be distributed to at least it must distribute at least 90% of their profits back to their shareholders as dividend. That is what happens. So that means that if you invest in a real estate investment trust, you are guaranteed to earn dividends, because the law is that they must give back 90% of the profit to the investors. That is the rule, right? So you are guaranteed to getting dividends quarterly, monthly, or annually, right? And that is the law. So this helps the corporation to qualify for lower taxation while helping the investors to reap a larger portion of their profits than they otherwise would have been able to, right? Because of the giving the money back as dividends, the taxation becomes very minimal, and you, the investor, enjoy a higher rate of return. So mostly the people who invest into real estate investment trusts are usually institutional investors, because this requires a large sum of money, and individual investors do not have such amount of money to invest into such right real estate investment trust, right. These investments are actually very complicated investment tools, and they may be very hard for the average individual, right? That's the disadvantage of real estate investment trust. So, maybe, yeah, so, they're very hard and complex for individuals, and most people cannot. The average person cannot afford them, right? So maybe mostly you have to invest it through mutual funds, and this strategy will help gather gains that can be made from investing to real estate without all of the risk, right? So that is what happens with what real estate investment trust, right? But for crowdfunding, okay, so for crowdfunding, what happens is that uh, it allows people to reach a new group of potential investors beyond the usual suspect like family, friends, and venture capitalists. And I think that most of the people who have invested in great affordable housing are people I've not met before, I've never seen before, right? Some of them I don't know them, but and most people don't even know that I'm the CEO of great affordable housing, because I allow others to do the marketing on my behalf, right? So this allows you to raise money from people you don't even know, right? Because the law. So how does what real estate crowdfunding work? So right, what happens is that this is open to what new people who want to what start their own business or project, but they don't have the money to do so. So they may not necessarily have to. Maybe in America and other parts of the world, maybe they don't have the best credit score either, right? What happens is that uh, you be able to what so what happened to real estate like if someone wants to invest into real estate but they don't have the money to buy their own property, or they don't want to own their own property, what they can become a shareholder through real estate crowdfunding. And so any profits directed to the real estate venture, and the profits that come from the rental income or flipping of the property are passed on to the investor, right? So what is that? So the problem is that with real estate investment trust, the disadvantage is that the expenses are very high, and the portfolios the portfolios are very difficult to manage, and then and then the real estate comes with what hefty maintenances, and the profits are reaped by those who run the companies, right? Which sometimes means lower rate of return for the investor, and that is why most people I don't advise people to invest into what real estate investment trust. It's very expensive, it's costly, it's very complicated, and your money is managed by someone else, and you don't actually understand how it operates. So I advise people not to put their money into what real estate investment trust. But on the other side of what crowdfunding, one of the biggest advantages of investing in crowdfunding for real estate is that you can commit a lower amount of capital for your investment. You can find a number of different projects that may require like 500. That, as I said, in great affordable housing, you can invest at least $500, or maybe 1,000 to 1,000 to 2,000, and then right. Another advantage is that like there are no investment fees, yeah, and then you are likely to just go free and you make profit without having to pay for what investment fees. So this is what the most important right. This is the most important part of what investing into what real estate, what investment through what crowdfunding, and that's what I recommend for people. I have seen people who have invested in great affordable housing, and they are making profit every year. So I actually recommend what the crowdfunding to the real estate investment trust, because with the crowdfunding you are more or less have control, because you're not no one is managing the property. The investors or the shareholders can decide what to do with the property. In Gray, that's what we do. We allow you like to meet and talk, and then we agree on a holding period, or let's say that okay, and then before we have properties that we know that we are going to have a holding period of 5 years. So if you are willing to hold for 5 years, you put your money here. But in real estate investment trust, you don't actually know which property that the mutual fund or the ETF is going to buy next. You don't even know much, because the money is managed by somewhere else, and you are just expected to sit at home and all you do is wait for your profit. But in crowdfunding, we are very specific, and we tell you that this we are going. If we buy this property, we are flipping it after 5 years, or we are holding it for 5 years and we are reselling it after 5 years. So you know what you're entering into. We can say this property we are going to rent it out, and the rent comes every 1 year. The rent comes every day, every month, right? So you actually choose the one that is more suitable for your financial needs or your financial expectation. So that's why I always recommend crowdfunding, because what it is the safest and most flexible form of what investing into real estate without having to what own a property. Now let me come and read a little bit about great affordable housing, right? So and then we just so this is what I wrote to my shareholders and then the investors in what great affordable housing. I wrote this in 2 months ago to the investors and shareholders in great affordable housing. So I said this was what I said. So I said Grace Group Real Estate Developers, right? It's a subdivision of Grace Group of companies, right, that seeks to address the increasing problem of housing in Africa and the globe as a whole. Like the population in the world is currently as of 2020 is growing at a rate of what around 1.05% per year, and that is down from what 1.08% in 2019. That means that 1.1% in 2018 and 1.12% in 2017. The current average population increase is estimated at 8 million per year, and then is there enough accommodation for us all? And, and if there is, to nobody's surprise, economic specialists say that the global economy is projected to contract sharply by 3% in 2020, much more worse than during the 2008 2009 financial crisis, right? The U.S. economy is projected to shrink this year by what 5.9%, and the euro area by what 7.5%. China will grow at least at a measly 1.2%, with the rate which is obviously have been affected, if not totally influenced by the deadly COVID-19 pandemic. How many people can afford a decent house or decent housing? This is the reason GRED is out here, right? So GRED offers crowdfunding, allowing for the possibility of a combined ownership, right? The difference with GRED is that we don't have you to stress of what finding a partner. We find a stable partner or partners depending on their financial strength and their financial goals, and then you can purchase together, right, or invest together. We also offer after-sales services that is supervising the deal to ensure the satisfaction of all parties involved. We have all exclusive interest-free payments methods. And what happens is that in GRED, you don't have to pay if you, let's say we need every investor to contribute $100,000. You don't have to pay all the $100,000 upfront. You can pay it over a period of 1 year, over a period of 2 years. We are allowed that too, right? So in GRED, we don't. Okay, so I said we have an all-inclusive interest-free payment method. Okay, in GRED, we allow for payments in installments and is interest-free, right? Considering the current economic standing of the world, people need all the help they can to get there, and GRED has got you in mind, right? Estates can be and paid for in installments and still be guaranteed it is interest free. There is flexibility of payments as well to spread into a year or two according to your strength, right? In GRED, we don't just sell, we rent and also lease, right? For temporary stay, rents are available in flats and even single rooms according to your choice and strength. 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, and many more, and etc., are all available for rent, sale, and lease, right? With flexible payment methods and interest free, right? GRED deals in sales of lands too, right? We also sell lands, yeah, with same payment methods, right? We also buy unfinished projects since we have a capable team of architects and masons and finish them up, right? So GRED is not also just into housing, but also we are into construction of other properties such as filling stations, malls, mini marts, hotels. Yeah, I think we had it a contract in 2020 that we had to construct a filling station. That was our first filling station we did, and it was very magnificent and very successful and profitable, right? We have a capable, well-established construction team that can put up any structure of your choice. We take contracts on developments, right? For example, the need for the construction of social amenities and recreational centers in the newly developing areas, right? We offer these services at affordable rates and also provide top-notch quality, right? So, Greg, though a young and upcoming real estate company, have started projects in the northern region of Ghana. That's I told you I come from Ghana, so Ghana is where we started this company, right? Because of the visionary leadership we have, we do not focus on what already choked cities, but we target upcoming and promising towns to develop, and these are our focus. But not already has bustling capitals, because we believe that tomorrow is always brighter, and we have the patience to wait and the capability to build while we wait. Right. So this is a very, very interesting thing I wrote to my shareholders and and then to new investors as well. So this is how I personally run my real estate company. Right. This is how I run my real estate company. There's no stress. I made some mistakes when I started. Right. It wasn't easy. And then sometimes it needs a lot of money to actually raise some properties, actually in Africa, right? Because Africa is not like the West, where you can take loans and that. In Africa, if nobody knows you, it is very difficult to get a loan, right? So, unlike here in Canada and then the U.S. and parts of the West, where you can go for mortgage loans, and that doesn't happen there in Africa. So you need to be. So I had to invest my own money, right, into all these properties, right? Yeah, and actually, I knew I could lose it all because, yeah, and that's how I run my real estate company. So, if I would allow one or two guests. So, if you have something to say, I would want to conclude this, right? So, if you have something to say as a guest and you have comments about real estate investing, about crowdfunding or real estate investment trust, uh, you have anything to say, you can join as a guest, and I will give you the opportunity to talk to us. Right? You are welcome to talk to us. So I would allow one or two guests in. If they want to talk to us, you are allowed to say something. Right? So you are welcome if you want to talk to us. Right? So real estate through crowdfunding is the way to go. Right? Is a way to go. Is a way to go. Is a way to go. I've already explained that. What happens is that I identify the opportunities, right? I plan the acquisition of the property, or and I even take the responsibility of its management and the eventual sale or the rent of the asset, right? So the crowd planning platform is where this we use to find investors who are looking to create passive income from real estate, right? Right. So you can invest. Anyone around the world can invest into real estate investment trusts. So what I'm looking forward to doing is that I want to make it a decentralized platform. So right, I think I'm talking with my friend, the guy who introduced me into cryptocurrencies. I'm actually talking with him so that we can look forward to making this decentralized. Like maybe we can build a decentralized platform using taking advantage of blockchain technology, where individuals and then potential investors can interact with each other on this platform with their privacy what not interfered with, right? So I actually believe in the future of real estate crowdfunding. I believe in what young people having to manage their own finances and taking advantage of their financial future. And if you look at the world, owning a property in most parts of the world has become very expensive. Most young people in their 20s and sometimes in their 30s, do not have enough money to buy a property or to raise a property, right? So through crowdfunding, so I actually came up with this idea because I wanted to empower young people to actually have interest into in real estate investing. Because before I left Africa, what I used to see was that most young people were actually into luxury. They don't have interest in owning any property. They just want to buy a big car and then flex, travel the world. And then some of them, they go broke and then they have to go back and depend on their parents, right? And that was something I saw the need to do something about. So when God blessed me and opened the door for me, I saw this as an opportunity to give back to my society. So I came up with this crowdfunding idea so that we can. I'm actually planning to launch. My birthday is coming soon, so on my birthday, I'll actually be unveiling another set of properties. We are just about finishing, right? There was a delay because of some issues. I had some family issues. I lost my senior sister. Yeah, may her soul rest in peace. Yeah. And then, so because of that, there were some delays, but I'm hoping that I'll finish those properties before my birthday, and then I would unveil them. So I saw this as a financial vehicle to help young investors. So if you are from Africa, you are listening to me, or you are of African descent, yeah, so mind reaching out to me. Let's get the talk business, right? Because I see that most African youth actually have misplaced priorities, right? Because that's where I come from. I want to give back to society. So I'm trying to get them informed about this opportunity so they can actually invest a little amount of money, as little as $500. They can be able to own shares of a property that they can get money for the rest of their life. So instead of them to maybe fly to Dubai and then which they never get it back, and this money doesn't come, and then the African currencies are gradually losing their value against their competitors in the West, in the East, right? So it is better to what they invest into real estate through crowdfunding, and this is the opportunity for them to do so. So I actually saw this as a very great opportunity to empower young people to become financially independent. That was my goal. Most of the companies that I start, I don't start them with the aim of what? Making money. I don't know how I do it. Profit is always number five on the list of my priorities. If you listen to me properly, most of the things I started, I was intrigued by the idea. I was moved by the ideology, right? Not necessarily the money, right? Because if you are looking for money, you maybe could do something else, right? Not to. So I always want to empower society, and I saw this as a need to actually reach out to as many people as I can in Africa, right? So I'm hoping that I'm hoping to travel. I've been to Kigali, right, and then we made some acquisitions there, and then I hope to return to Kigali as early as March next year, so that I can look forward to putting up some properties in Kigali. I also look up to going to Malawi somewhere in the middle of next year. So we could also look forward to having. So I'm not. I just want to do this in Africa first. I want to let this reach out. So if you want to invest in Africa, reach out to me. Let's talk. Right, we are brothers. So like, no matter where you are, this is a legitimate platform. We are everywhere, and then you can reach out to me if you want to invest into real estate crowdfunding in Africa. Reach out to me, right? Let's get a talk. Let's talk, right? I just want to do this to empower my community, right? I just want to let them understand how the real world is and then how things are going, right? So when I was in Kigali, I realized that Rwanda is one of the most beautiful places in Africa, and I love the vision that Paul Kagame is having, and I was very inspired. I think that's one of the most the place I got inspired the most when the part of Africa that I got inspired the most, right? Because the Rwandan economy is booming, and then they are focusing on real estate. And I acquired some properties there, and I look forward to. I bought land, yeah. So I look forward to going back there next year, and then we look forward to raising some properties. And I would go to Malawi. I just spoke with a friend today, right? So I would go to Malawi in June, right, 2022, and I look forward to spreading across the whole of Africa and maybe having a property or two. And then I look forward to maybe Canada, the UK, right? I was talking to my brother about America, and we just want to make it affordable, and then across the globe. So that is my dream, right? That's my vision. So if you're of African descent, or you're an African and you're here listening to me, or you have interest in investing in Africa, maybe just reach out to me. We could travel to Africa together. We could plan and travel to Africa together, and then this is going to be fantastic and amazing. And then we can have a way of empowering the society. We can change the narrative. People think that they have to get a lot of money to own a property, but if we introduce this idea that is new to them, they will be willing to embrace it. And you can see that the perspective will change, and young people will actually buy into invest into real estate other than just wasting their money around in buying things that they do not need, right? And that is what I try to teach. I try to preach. I try to put it out there that people got to invest into real estate investment through crowdfunding, and that is the power of crowdfunding. Yeah, so I believe in that, and it has worked smoothly for the past 2.5 years. I wish I had started early, but because that time I was actually doing my internship. I just left medical school and I was doing internship, so I had to be obedient, so I couldn't have traveled that much. But now I'm free, but due to some restrictions, I haven't been able to travel that much. Earlier this year. So I'm looking forward to the end of this year. I'll make some journeys and then start with some putting up some swift moves and then put out some properties. And then, yeah, I think a decade from now, the narrative will be different, right? So that is, I believe in Africa so much. That was why I named my podcast after my hometown. Bolga is my hometown. Bolga Tanga, I always say that it's my father's hometown, right? I haven't really spent so much time there, but I know a lot about it because I always go back home. And I named my podcast after Bolga because I want to identify with my people. Bolga is not really popular, right? So you say, where is Bolga? Died of a Bolga billionaire. Where is Bolga, right? It's not really popular, but I just want to identify with them. Like if you say if I had said diary of a Montreal billionaire, or let's say diary of a Quebec billionaire, that would be very popular. Every Canadian is want to know who is this guy, right? Every American want to know who is this guy from Quebec, maybe who is claimed to be a billionaire, right? But I use Bolga, so I'm not looking to be famous or whatever to be popular, but I just want to identify. I'm doing this from my heart. I just want to identify with where I come from, and then I use that as an opportunity to inspire my friends, and my people. If you look at all the things that I do, I actually have a fashion brand called Bolga Way Fashion, right? Where I just made some designs. So I'm looking forward to launching it next year, right, on my birthday on 2022. I've been working on this since 2020. I have some amazing shoe designs and shirts, and yeah. But I just look forward to launching it in 2022. So this Bolga Way Fashion, right? So that's my personal clothing brand, and yeah, I'm doing it in the name of my hometown, right? So I believe so much in Africa. I believe that somebody's son who knows nobody will become somebody someday, right? I'm an example of breaking through the odds, breaking the odds, becoming whoever you want to be, regardless of where you come from or where you were born, right? So I'm seeing this as an opportunity. So if we have interest in Africa, right, let's not. My father taught me that if you want to live well, live for others, right? Don't live for yourself, right? So when I read about Alibaba, I gave you a book, right? I read a book about a book written by Duncan Clark, Alibaba, the house that Jack Ma built, right? And in that book, it talked about Jack Ma's getting help from an Australian family that went to China just for a holiday, and they met Jack Ma as a little child, right? And they were playing, and they were able to help him to be able to meet some of his financial needs, like his college needs, and they changed his life forever. And now Jack Ma is a billionaire, and now they are friends. They go on holidays and vacations together, right? So if the Australian family hadn't helped him, maybe we wouldn't be able to hear about Jack Ma today, but right? And that is how life is. I believe that anyone around the world who has a dream should be able to at least realize it and become whoever they want to be in life. And that is my dream. So don't live for yourself, live for others. I'm trying to live for Africa. I'm trying to live for my people. So if you have interest, maybe of African descent, just like me, and then you want to give up to society, you want to invest in Africa. This is not just a donation or some kind of a charity, right? No, this is a way of giving back to society while you make returns from that. So if you're investing in building a property in Kigali, you will be proud that you are investing in Africa, right? But also you will be making profit in return. So that's the amazing aspect of it, right? So that's the amazing aspect of it, right? So you got to take your time and then be so if you love to invest in Africa, if you love to maybe tour Africa, maybe you are not interested in investing, uh, but just want to visit Africa and have a look at how Africa is, you could reach out, we could go together, because I'm planning to go in December or January, right? So this is the amazing thing about Africa that I love. So I'm actually, I could do this here, I could do this in Canada, I could do this in the US, I could do this in the UK, because it's just about having the money. You can buy a property in the US, in some parts of Europe, worth $100,000, and then yeah, I know all that about in Mexico, in Argentina, in Brazil, in Uruguay. You could do that, buy a property worth $100,000, and you get a dual citizenship. That's not my dream. I could do that today. I could do that tomorrow, but that is not my dream. That is not what I want to do in life. I want to give back to Africa, and this may not be as profitable as it would be here. Like assuming I buy a condo here in Montreal, or I buy in Montreal, or I buy a property in the US, or I buy a property in Dubai, I could make that money 10 times in a year. But why did I choose Africa? Because I want Africa to also understand investing. I want them to see. I want to make housing actually affordable, right? Because I realized the houses were very expensive in Accra. Yeah, the capital of Ghana. Houses are very expensive, and the per capita. I mean, the income is very very low. People are earning very less amount of money per month, and then like then the taxes and then the houses are very, very, very expensive, right? So I realized that now, let me make this affordable, right? So through crowdfunding, we make it less expensive, and then people can be able to live in very nice houses. Housing is very complicated in Africa, and then it's a major problem for people who are not earning a good sum of money, and they struggle to do that, right? So if you are willing to invest, and then let's just have a talk, right? You can reach out to me. You can even come on as a guest. Let's change the narrative. We don't have to always have it be like the most beautiful buildings are not over there. You see the buildings we have put up in Africa, you'll be surprised. Wow. Because I believe in beauty. I believe in excellence. I believe in doing the best, right? So you can see a building, an exact replica of a building you would see in New York, in Africa. And then the price is way cheaper than it would be in New York. That's my dream, and I want to give back to my society as much as I can. So this is how I run my real estate company. I don't. It's not just about the profit, because this will be a lot of. This will be a lot over a decade. So I'm not just looking for immediate returns. I'm looking forward to changing the narrative, making people believe in investing, making people see real estate as a new form of income, and making people understand that you don't have to have all the money to own a property to be able to invest into real estate. But with the little you have, as little as $500, you can become a partaker or a shareholder in a company or in a property, and actually earn dividends or profit from the accruals, or from the resale or flipping, or from what, the rentals, right? So that is my dream, and I've been working on this for the past 2.5 years. I progressed. My dream was to put up a property every year, right? But because of last year, the pandemic was very hard. So this year, I was able to put up two, which I will be unveiling on my birthday. All right. Someone might be asking me, why you don't tell us your birthday? I don't actually celebrate my birthday. I don't believe in that, so I don't tell people about it. So they don't bother me with messages and those things. I don't have time for that because if you may text me and I don't reply on my birthday and you think I'm rude, so mostly I don't tell people about my birthday. Don't celebrate me. Go give that money to the poor person. Go and give that money to the homeless guy in your neighborhood. You don't have to give it to me. Don't give me that gift. The person who needs it the most is the homeless person in your heart. I'm fine. God has blessed me enough. I'm cool. I have food to eat. I have a place to lay my head. So don't give that money to me. Go give to the homeless man in your neighborhood, right? So that's why I don't reveal my birthday, and I just leave. It's a few days from today. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it. So don't bother asking for it because I'm not going to talk about it. So that was the reason why I'm not mentioning the particular day. So let's look forward to doing great things. If we get money, so maybe if you are not interested in investing in real estate in Africa, or I would at least tell you that please do something in your hometown, do something in Africa. Don't just get the money and stay here in the West, right? I think this app is created by an African, somebody of African descent, right? And that is very inspiring, right? So do something for the community, right? Go back there. You may not need to go back there, but send money back there. Let them do something back home. Empower people. So your own might not be investing in real estate. Your own might not be doing crowdfunding or making housing affordable. Your own might be something else, creating job opportunities, employing young people and giving them a head start to life, empowering people financially, opening the doors to help people become financially stable. This might be your own, and you got to do that right now. You don't have to wait till tomorrow. And the best way to invest your money is not to go to Dubai. I don't really fancy vacations. You can do that if you want, but please, the best way to invest it is to give back to society. And the time we have is now. So I love people. I love Africa. I love Ghana. I love my people so much that I would do anything for them, and I would love to see them do better and better and better every day. So right. So this is an opportunity for you if you are interested in investing in real estate to empower Africa and also to make profit. Reach out to me. Let's talk, right? And then we look forward to doing great things over there where we come from. It's actually amazing, and it's been it's been a fantastic journey, you know, and I love it. I want to do more and more. I wish I could, if not for the pandemic, I could have done more and more. But yeah, regardless of that, we are still way ahead of where we were 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. So this is the love that I have, and this is how I run my real estate company. So through crowdfunding, I'm yeah. So mostly I try to teach what I do. So this is how. So if you are a guest on this show right now, and you have something to say, you have a comment, you have a question, anything, just come on. I'll allow you to join and discuss your idea, to your beliefs, whatever you have to say, a question, an idea, something you have to add, right? Just come on and then say what anything. I will allow you to talk to us. You are very welcome, and you have the opportunity to say whatever is in your mind. You have a question to ask. You have a comment to make. Anything that you want to say, right? You could, right? Right? Join as a guest. I'll let you talk to us. So the floor is yours. Your time starts now. Just talk to us, and you are welcome to say anything. Is it a question? Is it a comment? Any remark that you want to say? Yeah, just say it here, right? And then you're welcome to talk about it. Right. So most people in Africa, that's what they believe. You need to have $100 million. You need to have $1 million. I think you need to have $500,000 to be able to invest in real estate. But you actually don't need that. All you need to actually participate or be a partaker in real estate through great affordable housing is $500,000. $500, and you stand a chance of being a partaker. right? And this is fantastic. So if you are a guest and you want to talk, I'll give you the opportunity to discuss with us, and then you're welcome. You're welcome. Please don't just come here and go. Say something. Say something to us, please. All of you here, please say something to us. Say something to us. I have amazing people here, right? Yeah, great people, people with great minds. A lot of you, I can see Jenny Francis, Ashley Brooks, Saul Yu, Alison Kennison Jones, Paul Crosswell, Brandon Cheney, and a lot of you, yeah, about 85 of us are here. Yaya Sinclair, Suki, there's some of you, Jimmy Morgan, Samjab, right, Land Southwest, Eugene, we have Ife Orinde. I think this is a Nigerian name, African descent. Come and say something, bro. Oh, mom, come and say something to us. Right, George Finn, Kimo, right, Jeff Brandler, Thomas, we have Tommy, we have Rana Yusuf, John Lee, Samantha Brown, we have Alicia Manises Maple, Sophia Calvin, Ralph Withers Jr. Any of you, or there's so many of you, I can't say all the names here. If you have something to say to us, please, you are welcome. Just come on, say something about real estate, say something about Africa, say something beautiful, say something, because I love our Africa. I want to, not to change Africa, but I want to empower society, right? So I hope that by the end of this decade, right, by 2031, I should have properties in at least 50 countries in Africa. Right, that's my dream, and I hope that God will help me to realize that. Right, so I'm actually dreaming, looking forward to that. That's my dream. So if you want to be you want to participate in this, you want us to run with this vision, join me. Let's change the world. Let's make history. History will remember us, for doing a great thing for our people and opening their eyes to what investing. There's one thing about Mansa Musa that inspired me, right? Because his life story is very tremendous. What happened was that he was born to, I think, somewhere in Mali today, and then somewhere, yeah. So they were mining a lot of gold. So what happened was that all his predecessors didn't have any interest in what outside of faith. They were okay with the lives they had. They were okay with the gold, making money from the gold, right? They were okay with the little opportunities that were around there. So according to what happened, the main predecessor before Master Musa, of Master Musa, according to what I heard, there were fishermen who went to the sea, and they went farther than they were supposed to. And then what I read, uh, they were like they got drowned, and only one man came back and said that and reported to the king that they went with boats, and then they were all gone. He was the only survivor. So the king said, "Okay, I want to see what is happening in that part of the world. So let's go." So they built magnificent boats, and they went never to return. So according to other historians, they never returned, and according to others, they traveled to the Caribbean. And they were the first blacks to have crossed to the Caribbean with a lot of gold. And that's so many. Translate, so many people have their own narrative. Right? Some said they died and they couldn't cross the ocean, the Mediterranean, or whatever. And others said they crossed the Mediterranean and went to the Caribbean, and they were the first blacks to have gone there. Right? So now his predecessor was gone. So Master Musa had to take over as the new king of the Mali kingdom. So what happened was that he decided to explore. So he said, okay, he was going to Mecca. And Mecca is like he was going to Mecca, which is Hajj. So every Muslim would go to Mecca once in their lifetime. But he decided to embark on it in a glamorous way. So how he did it was that he decided to build, like he embarked with servants, and like he went with an entire kingdom. He went with soldiers, he went with servants, and they had loads of gold. That's why they said he was the richest man in history. Because what happened was that he went by land. So while they were on their way, anywhere they go, even servants were rich, and the servants were even adorned in gold chains and gold apparel. So when they went to Egypt, right? What happened was that they entered into the market and they diluted the price of gold. In a single day, the stock market in Egypt and then in and Palestine and then I think in the east, right, was crashed by what 23%. That's about what $1.5 billion in one day, because the people from Mali came to the markets with their gold and they bought a lot of things with so much gold and they diluted the price of gold and the market crashed. And if you compare that time in those early days, 1.5 billion today would be worth trillions, right? If Sevens alone could buy that amount of money, like could buy things with that amount of money and could dilute an entire stock market, right? And in those days, those were the richest parts of the world, like Egypt, Afghanistan, like those eastern and the Gulf nations were the most powerful nations. In those days, you can read the Bible in the biblical times, right? So if he traveled from there, he went to Hash. And what happened was that as he was traveling, he was inspired by those magnificent buildings and the universities. So what he did was that he did not just go to Mecca and stay there. He went to Mecca, did his Hajj, stayed there, made friends, and people loved him. So what he did on his way back, he took along with him scholars, architects, and then people who could go back to Mali and build universities and those what powerful architectural structures that he saw on his way to Mecca, right? And that's what he did in his country. He changed the history, and they built very magnificent cities and universities, and then that he was able to make history, right? So instead of being like his predecessors, Mansa Musa changed the narrative. He took advantage of the money that he had and the gold that he had, and they changed the story forever. The people were willing to travel to Africa because they saw the money and they believed in the ideology, and they were able to build magnificent buildings. And then so he built the biggest and the most, I think, one of the biggest and the oldest mosque in Africa. And I think Island is still available, is still over there in Mali, right? And that's the most powerful part of life, making an impact, making a change. And he made history. And when he went, he did not only go to showcase his gold, but that was not actually his property, but he was also intrigued by the buildings and the schools he saw. So people were learning a different language and they were able to write, right? So he actually brought the scholars back to teach in universities. And he built universities and built mosques and built fine buildings, and right. And that is the power of life. You have one life to live, and you have got to make an impact, right? So Mansa Musa is a great example, and then we all should give back to society. So when we go to another country or wherever we go in the world, we should try to always take something back to impact where we come from. And he did not just go to Mecca alone. And that's what I said. He took back with him architects and the scholars to go and empower his people. And that is the most important part of the life of Mansa Musa. So I think it's amazing. It's great. And we also look forward to making an impact at least once in our lifetimes. And then this is an opportunity for us we have. So I saw my opportunity. God Almighty gave me the opportunity, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm working hard around the clock to make it a reality, right? So I really appreciate you all, and I love you all for joining. So if you are a guest here and you want to say something, just kindly join and then say a word to us. If not, I may have to end this session. Then yeah, then so this is how I run my real estate company, Great Affordable House. Yeah, so you can reach out to me if you want to know more, and then we can make an impact together. So as always, it's love from here. Do have a great time, and maybe if I have time, I'll come back for another session today. I don't really know how that is possible, but do enjoy your time. It's always love from me, and I appreciate you all for joining. Right. So I bring it to an end here, and then have a great time. This love from me. Have a great day.